Henry VIII. The name alone conjures images of power, passion, and unparalleled ruthlessness. He was a figure larger than life, a king whose very presence demanded attention and respect. He was a king who shaped England in his image, a king of monstrous appetites and even greater contradictions. His reign was marked by his insatiable hunger for both power and pleasure, a duality that defined his rule. He craved pleasure and power in equal measure. His court was a place of opulence and excess, where feasts and celebrations were grand and frequent, reflecting his desire to live life to the fullest. He was a scholar and a brute, a poet and a tyrant. His intellect was as sharp as his temper, and he was known to engage in scholarly pursuits as much as he was known for his ruthless actions. Henry's reign was a whirlwind of drama, a stage upon which love, religion and politics played out in their most extreme forms. His court was a theatre of intrigue, where alliances were made and broken, and where the stakes were always high. His desires, both personal and political, were the driving force behind some of the most significant events in English history. His quest for a male heir led to a series of marriages and annulments that changed the course of the nation. He broke from the Catholic Church, plunging his nation into religious turmoil. The English Reformation was a direct result of his need to control his own destiny, and it forever altered the religious landscape of England. He beheaded those who dared to cross him, leaving a trail of blood on his path to absolute power. His reign was marked by a series of executions that demonstrated his willingness to eliminate any threat to his authority. Was he a monster, a visionary? Perhaps he was both. His actions were often brutal, but they were also driven by a vision for a stronger, more unified England. To understand Henry VIII, one must delve into the heart of the Tudor dynasty, into the very soul of a king consumed by his own desires. His legacy is a complex tapestry of ambition, power and human frailty, a story that continues to captivate and intrigue to this day. Born in 1491, Henry VIII entered a world of grandeur and expectation. Henry was not destined for the throne. As the second son of King Henry VII and Elizabeth of York, he was initially groomed for a life of religious and diplomatic duties. He was the second son, living in the shadow of his elder brother Arthur, the Prince of Wales, who was the heir apparent. Yet fate, it seemed, had other plans. In 1502, Arthur's untimely death from a sudden illness changed the course of history. Arthur died young, leaving Henry, a spare heir no longer, to inherit the throne at the tender age of 17. The weight of the crown now rested on his youthful shoulders. The young king was everything his people could have wished for. Tall, athletic and handsome, with a quick wit and a charming demeanour, his presence was magnetic, drawing admiration from all corners of his kingdom. He was a Renaissance man, fluent in several languages, a skilled musician and a keen sportsman. His talents were as varied as they were impressive, embodying the ideal of a cultured and capable monarch. But beneath this alluring facade lurked a will of iron and an insatiable ambition. Henry was not content with merely being a figurehead. He sought to leave an indelible mark on history. He was determined to rule, not merely reign. His vision for England was grand, and he was prepared to take bold steps to achieve it. He yearned for glory, for military victories that would cement his place in history. His ambitions extended beyond the borders of his kingdom, seeking to expand his influence and power through conquest and diplomacy. And above all, he needed an heir, a son to secure the Tudor dynasty and fulfill his dynastic ambitions. The pressure to produce a male successor weighed heavily on him, influencing many of his decisions and actions throughout his reign. Henry's reign was marked by his relentless pursuit of power and legacy. His ambitions would shape the future of England, leaving a lasting impact on the nation and its history. The story of Henry VIII is one of ambition, determination, and the quest for greatness. It is a tale that continues to captivate and intrigue centuries after his time. No aspect of Henry VIII's life is as infamous as his 6 wives. Each of these women played a pivotal role in the tumultuous saga of his reign, their lives intertwined with the king's relentless pursuit of a male heir. These women, pawns in the king's desperate quest for a male heir, were often caught in the crossfire of political and personal ambitions. Their fates were sealed by the whims of a monarch whose desires were as unpredictable as the English weather. They became victims of his volatile temper and ever-shifting affections. Henry's moods could swing from passionate love to cold indifference, and his wives bore the brunt of these emotional storms.
I bore him a daughter, Mary. Our marriage, once a symbol of political alliance, became strained under the weight of his expectations. But Henry, obsessed with securing the succession with a male heir, grew increasingly restless. His anxiety over the future of his dynasty gnawed at him, leading him to question the validity of our union. He sought an annulment, claiming our marriage was cursed by God. This decision not only shattered our bond, but also set the stage for a seismic shift in the religious landscape of England.
Enter Anne Boleyn, a woman whose charm and intelligence captivated the king. Her presence at court was like a breath of fresh air, and Henry was immediately smitten. A woman of wit and ambition who refused to become the king's mistress, Anne demanded respect and recognition. She was determined to be more than just another conquest.
He defied the Pope, broke with Rome, and established the Church of England. This bold move was not just about love, it was a declaration of his sovereignty and a reshaping of the nation's religious identity. And married me in a move that shook the very foundations of Christendom. Our union was both a personal and political statement, challenging the established order.
Their passionate love affair was short-lived. The initial fervour of their relationship soon gave way to the harsh realities of court life and the pressures of producing an heir. Anne, too, failed to produce a male heir, giving birth to Elizabeth. Though Elizabeth would go on to become one of England's greatest monarchs, at the time, her birth was seen as a failure. Elizabeth, a future queen, but a disappointment to her father, was a constant reminder of Anne's inability to fulfill Henry's deepest desire. Accused of adultery and treason on flimsy grounds, Anne's downfall was swift and brutal. The charges against her were likely fabricated, a convenient way for Henry to rid himself of a wife who could not give him a son. She met her end on the executioner's block, her life cut short by the very man who once adored her.
As his third wife, I finally gave him the son he craved, the future Edward VI. My brief time as queen was marked by this singular achievement, but his joy was short-lived, as I died shortly after childbirth. My death cast a shadow over the court, a stark reminder of the high cost of Henry's relentless quest for a male heir.
Henry's quest for a male heir wasn't just a personal obsession, it was a matter of national security. The horrors of the recent War of the Roses, a bloody civil war over the throne, were still fresh in everyone's minds. His desperation to secure the succession led him to commit his most audacious act, the break with the Catholic Church.
When Pope Clement VII refused to grant me an annulment from Catherine of Aragon, I took matters into my own hands.
In 1534, with the Act of Supremacy, he declared himself the supreme head of the Church of England. Monasteries were dissolved, their wealth confiscated, and those who opposed the king's religious authority faced his wrath. This act of defiance sent shockwaves through Europe, forever altering the religious landscape of England and establishing the Church of England as we know it today.